What if I told you that one of the most disruptive forces in the history of the internet was not built by a billionaire in a Silicon Valley skyscraper or a secret government lab, but by a quiet, brilliant Swedish programmer who ran the world's largest file-sharing website from cheap servers and a simple belief that information should be free, and that he managed to keep it alive for almost 20 years while governments, Hollywood studios, and the biggest music labels in the world spent hundreds of millions trying and failing to kill it. Yeah, you heard that right. Gottfrid Svartholm, better known online as Anakata, was one of the co-founders of the Pirate Bay, the site that became the symbol of the free internet and the ultimate thorn in the side of the entertainment industry. He genuinely believed that movies, music, books, and software should be as free as air or sunlight, not locked behind expensive paywalls. So he helped build a platform that let millions of people around the world download things without paying, and in doing so created one of the most fascinating financial and philosophical stories in modern tech. If you think this is just another story about pirates and illegal downloads, you are about to discover something much deeper, because today we are ripping open the life and financial philosophy of Gottfrid Svartholm, the man who proved that sometimes the smartest way to get rich is not by chasing money at all, but by building something so big, so loved, and so hard to kill that the entire world cannot stop it. Stick with me until the very last word, because the verified story of how he ran a giant website with almost zero costs, turned lawsuits into free advertising, mastered jurisdictional arbitrage, lived simply while valuing freedom over yachts, and played the ultimate cat and mouse game with governments for 2 decades, will leave you equal parts inspired and rethinking what real success actually looks like. If you have ever felt frustrated by paywalls, subscriptions, or the way big corporations control information, or if you simply love stories of underdogs who outsmart the system, hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications so you never miss these deep dives, and drop a comment below telling me, do you think Gottfrid Svartholm was a hero, a criminal, or something in between? I read every single comment, and we are building this conversation together as a community that refuses to accept the official version of history. Welcome to Money's Hidden Past. Rich people lied. We fact-checked. Let us start at the beginning with a young Swedish programmer who never set out to become rich in the traditional sense. Gottfrid Svartholm Varg, known online simply as Anakata, was born in Sweden in the early 1980s. From a young age, he showed an extraordinary talent for computers and programming. While other kids were playing games, Gottfrid was taking them apart, learning how they worked and dreaming about systems that could share information freely across the world. In the early 2000s, when the internet was still young and file sharing was exploding, Gottfrid teamed up with 2 friends, Peter Sunda and Frederick Nye, to create something that would change the internet forever. In 2003, they launched the Pirate Bay, a simple website that used BitTorrent technology to let people share files directly with each other. At first, it was just a small hobby project, but it quickly grew into the largest and most famous torrent website in history. What made Gottfrid special was his core belief: information should be free. To him, movies, music, books, and software were like air or sunlight. They should not be locked behind expensive paywalls controlled by giant corporations. He saw the internet as the greatest tool for human freedom ever invented, and he wanted to use it to break down artificial barriers created by copyright laws. The financial model Gottfrid helped build was brilliant in its simplicity and almost revolutionary in its efficiency. He ran the entire giant website with almost zero cost. Servers were cheap, or even donated by sympathetic supporters. There were no huge teams of employees, no fancy offices in expensive cities, and no massive marketing budgets. The Pirate Bay operated on a shoestring budget that most tech startups would laugh at. Yet it handled millions of users and billions of file downloads every month. How did he make money? The site earned revenue mainly through small, non-intrusive ads and voluntary user donations. Because the traffic was absolutely massive, even tiny ad payments added up to a comfortable income that kept the site running smoothly for years. Gottfrid and his co-founders never chased traditional wealth. They did not try to build a billion-dollar company that could be sold to a big corporation. Instead, they focused on keeping the site alive, free, and true to its mission. This low-cost, high-impact approach allowed the Pirate Bay to survive for almost 2 decades, while many other file-sharing sites were shut down quickly. One of the smartest and most entertaining parts of Gottfrid's strategy was how he turned legal attacks into free advertising. Every time governments or big entertainment companies sued the Pirate Bay or tried to shut it down, the opposite happened. More people heard about the site, and traffic actually exploded. The lawsuits and raids became the best marketing the Pirate Bay could ever have asked for. Media coverage of the battles made the site famous worldwide. People who had never heard of it suddenly wanted to check it out. Gottfrid understood something most companies never grasp. Controversy can be the best form of publicity. The more the powerful tried to kill the Pirate Bay, the stronger it became. This created a perfect feedback loop where legal pressure increased awareness, which increased users, which made the site even harder to stop. Gottfrid was also a master at something called jurisdictional arbitrage, constantly moving the servers to countries where copyright laws were weak or hard to enforce. The Pirate Bay's servers jumped around the world, making it extremely difficult for any single government to shut the site down permanently. Gottfrid once joked publicly about putting the servers in North Korea or even launching them into space just for fun. He even seriously explored buying the tiny micronation of Sealand, an old sea fort off the coast of England, so he could create his own country with no copyright laws at all. These ideas were not just jokes, they were part of a serious strategy to keep the site alive no matter what the authorities threw at it. When Swedish police raided the servers in 2006, the site was back online in just 3 days, using mirror sites and new locations. Every time authorities seized hardware or blocked access, fans around the world immediately started cloning the entire Pirate Bay and keeping it alive on hundreds of mirror sites. The community loved Gottfrid and his co-founders so much that they essentially crowdsourced the survival of the platform. This was not a normal website, it was a movement. The bottom line of Gottfrid Svartholm's financial way of living was radically different from almost every other tech founder you have ever heard of. He did not want to get rich in the normal way. He lived simply. He did not buy yachts or mansions or private jets. His real wealth was freedom. The freedom to run a website that challenged the most powerful corporations and governments in the world and somehow kept winning for almost 20 years. While other tech founders were busy chasing valuations and stock options, Gottfrid was focused on building something that could not be killed. He played the ultimate cat-and-mouse game with the entire entertainment industry, multiple governments, and the biggest media companies on the planet, and for a very long time the mouse kept winning. Sweden, the United States, the United Kingdom, and others tried everything: server seizures, domain blocks, arrests, and massive lawsuits. Gottfrid and his co-founders were arrested, tried, and convicted in Sweden. Gottfrid himself was later arrested in Cambodia in 2012 and extradited back to Sweden. He served time in prison. Yet the site always came back. The idea was bigger than any one person. The community kept it alive. The deeper and more profound lesson from Gottfrid Svartholm's story is that sometimes the smartest financial move is not chasing money at all. It is building something so big, so useful, and so loved by millions of people that the world simply cannot kill it. Gottfrid proved that you do not need to become a billionaire in the traditional sense to have enormous impact and real freedom. His wealth was not measured in bank accounts, but in the millions of people whose lives were improved by access to information, culture, and knowledge that would otherwise have been locked away. He showed that you can win by refusing to play the normal game. While others were busy optimizing for stock prices and venture capital exits, Gottfrid was optimizing for resilience, freedom, and principle. That approach may not have made him a multi-billionaire, but it created something far more lasting. A legend that still inspires people today. The energetic irony is that the very corporations that spent hundreds of millions trying to destroy the Pirate Bay ended up making it more famous and more powerful than they could ever have imagined. Every raid, every lawsuit, every attempt to shut it down only proved the point Gottfrid and his friends were making. Information wants to be free, and the internet makes it almost impossible to stop. The Pirate Bay became a symbol of resistance against the old gatekeepers of culture and knowledge. It forced the entertainment industry to adapt, to lower prices, to make content more accessible, and to change the way they thought about distribution. In many ways, Gottfrid Svartholm and the Pirate Bay helped accelerate the shift to streaming services and more consumer-friendly models because they showed the old system was broken and unsustainable. Gottfrid himself never sought fame or fortune in the conventional sense. After serving his sentence, he largely stepped away from the spotlight. He continued to work on privacy and technology projects quietly. He lived simply, consistent with the philosophy he had always followed. His story is a powerful reminder that true freedom and real impact sometimes come not from chasing money, but from building something that matters so much to people that they will fight to keep it alive. In a world that constantly tells us to maximize profits and chase valuations, Gottfrid Svartholm showed there is another path, one based on principle, resilience, and the belief that some things should not be owned and controlled by corporations. The mature recognition here is that Gottfrid Svartholm's financial philosophy was not about rejecting money. It was about rejecting the idea that money must always be the ultimate goal. He proved that you can build something enormously successful without following the traditional playbook of Silicon Valley. He showed that low costs, strong principles, community support, and clever legal strategies can create a platform that survives attacks that would destroy normal companies. His real wealth was not in bank accounts, but in the freedom he achieved and the impact he made. That is a lesson worth remembering in an age when most tech founders are laser-focused on valuations and exits. From the quiet basement servers to the global cat-and-mouse game with governments, Gottfrid Svartholm's journey with the Pirate Bay is one of the most fascinating financial and philosophical stories of the internet age. He did not chase money in the normal way, and yet he built something that changed the world. He proved that sometimes the smartest financial move is not chasing money, it is building something so big and so loved that the world cannot kill it. That is the legacy of Anakata. That is the story of a man who played the game differently and won in ways most people never understand. If this deep dive into Gottfrid Svartholm and the incredible story of the Pirate Bay fired you up about the power of building something that truly matters, then do me a favor right now. Smash that like button to let the algorithm know this conversation matters. Share this video with every friend and family member who loves stories of underdogs, freedom, and clever resistance, and let us keep exposing what they do not want you to see. I will catch you in the next one, where we break down the next hidden chapter in the history of money, power, and rebellion. Until then, stay informed, stay skeptical, and remember that sometimes the greatest fortunes are not measured in money, but in the freedom and impact you leave behind.